Hello everyone and welcome back to another video with On Point Politics, and today we're going to talk about Donald Trump tapping Senator Vance as the VP candidate. That is his official pick for the 2024 presidential election GOP ticket. They were just formally nominated today on day one of the RNC. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you want more content just like this. And so this is now the official pick for Donald Trump's vice presidential seat. Senator JD Vance out of Ohio was just elected literally, 2 years ago to the Senate. We can actually see Donald Trump won the state by 8 percentage points in 2020. And we see that in 2022, Vance, despite actually doing a little bit worse in the rules, he actually still won the state by 6.1%. because he was actually able to expand the coalition in the suburbs despite the fact of him performing worse in the rural areas. And that's only merely because of the fact that JD Vance was in an electorate with a more college educated, style coalition. That's really the only reason why that happened. If we see here, he underperformed in certain rural counties but did a lot better in some of the suburban ones, so that definitely kind of pushed him to doing somewhat well in the state. So we clearly see that there. He actually voted almost in line with Donald Trump in terms of his Ohio margin. Pence, barely won his election in Indiana by like a point or so, and was actually in jeopardy of winning re-election in 2016, believe it or not. That's speculated as one of the reasons why Donald Trump actually picked Pence, was because Pence, it was a minor reason, but Pence really didn't want to have he was actually in jeopardy of losing re-election that year, which was very, very fascinating. And now that Trump kind of already has the political experience as being the president of the United States, he doesn't need somebody to convince evangelical voters to go out there to vote for him. He already has that base in general. And we see there that Donald Trump just tapped this guy to be the VP. And based off of Trump's statement, we see here that Senator JD Vance served in the Marine Corps. He graduated from Ohio State University in 2 years, summa cum laude. He's also a Yale Law School graduate, and he was the editor of the Yale Law Journal and the president of the Yale Law Veterans Association. He also wrote the book Hillbilly Elegy, which is also a film bestseller, major bestseller and movie as well, and is a guy that's very connected with the white working class and also had a very successful career in technology and finance. And during the campaign, Trump believes that he will be able to tap the voters in the Rust Belt, which I actually think is definitely true. I think that 100% he's going to be able to tap those voters very well. Now, we do have an electoral map pulled up here, and honestly, my prediction is that Donald Trump is actually going to win the election by a landslide. But just for the sake of the video, let's say this is still a competitive race. If his team is treating it as a close race, JD Vance realistically would be the best pick, because Youngkin, yes, he would have been decent, but I think Youngkin wouldn't have really added too much. I mean, he could have added a center focus in Virginia, but I think that Trump was trying to look for somebody with broader appeal to not put his eggs in one basket. That's why I kind of figured that Youngkin or Zeldin wouldn't have been the VP pick, because you're just targeting a single state. I don't think that would have been a great idea. And that Rubio also as well. Donald Trump has already been gaining in polling data with Hispanics and African Americans by 10 to 30 points, depending on what poll you look at from the 2020 margins. And so he didn't really need to tap somebody for Hispanic or African American support. He merely needed to tap somebody for Rust Belt support, like he kind of did in 2016, except this time he went with a very anti-establishment candidate pick, and he's already polling very well in the Sun Belt states this cycle, especially in North Carolina, where he's already won twice. So Vance being really, close in Ohio to Pennsylvania could basically tap in to give him the edge in Pennsylvania, where Donald Trump already leads by 5 percentage points in the RCP aggregate, by the way. So I actually think that Vance is actually not the worst pick for Donald Trump. I mean, it wasn't necessarily my number one choice, but looking back on it now, it's definitely a pretty decent choice. Looking at it in retrospect, he is very young. He is, a graduate from a university. He's definitely going to kind of the younger side of him kind of aligns that with a lot of college educated voters. That's a group that Donald Trump's been struggling with. So really, Vance is kind of the, suburban working class type of voter pick that Donald Trump's actually been struggling with in polling data. You know, middle age, older, working class slash suburban voters is the demographic he's been struggling with, especially in polling data in the north, in, you know, mid part of the country. So that's definitely going to help him with some of those voters to really try to get him, you know, to that side. I actually had somebody tell me today that wasn't going to even vote for Trump, that saw Vance on the ticket and said, oh, I might actually reconsider sitting out, because he didn't think that in the entire life of him that there would have been a VP pick like that. And this is somebody that's young, that really is not interested in politics, but definitely seems very intrigued by the Vance pick, despite not even being from Ohio and despite having no idea who Vance is. When he started looking up Vance, he was like, oh, okay, this is pretty interesting. And so I think that Vance is probably going to be able to bring some support to him in the Rust Belt. Now, again, I already think Trump's going to win the election by a large amount regardless. So this is just merely to give you guys a perspective. If the election, assuming it was a close election, Vance would have actually been the best pick, because Donald Trump was already gaining with African and Hispanic Americans enough to win the Sun Belt states. So Vance realistically was the best pick for that. But Trump also wanted to tap somebody to be a successor to the MAGA movement. I mean, he's been saying this for months now. And I think that Vance is probably going to actually be one of the more, you know, MAGA type of candidates that could come out of the field. And I think at this point, he's probably already the front runner for the Republican nomination for 28 at this point, in my opinion, more than likely. And we'll see where that goes. But anyways, guys, that is the end of the video. Please make sure to hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content just like this. And I will see you guys in the next video.